What's up, y'all? Welcome back. We have an exciting topic today. We're looking at the average cost of groceries in Britain versus America. This is really cool. This is going to be a video that I really encourage you to comment on because we have viewers from all over the world. I'm super thankful for that. And I want to kind of see if you could comment some comparisons that we'll see in this video where you're from. And if groceries overall are really high lately, maybe like this year, or if they're decently priced or lower than normal lately, this is the kind of things I would love to hear from you. Anyway, this is a video from Evan Edinger. This will be linked in the description down below so you can watch the whole thing uninterrupted, as I might skip around a little bit here. And this is a Instagram DM suggestion from Curtis44EN. So thank you for that. Here we go.
So I'm currently standing here at a bog standard British supermarket, that is a Sainsbury's, the local edition, because this is a place where a large percentage of the British people are currently going to buy their groceries. And with the cost of inflation on the rise, with the cost of literally all goods going up more and more and more, I wanted to see what is the cost of an average shop at your local store in the UK and possibly compare it to how our friends across the pond in America are currently doing with their grocery shops. So without further ado, let's get some food.
Sounds kind of fun. And what's interesting is a lot of times we like to, well, we're still doing it in this video, compare things, how they're different in different countries. I think that's super fun. That's what I'm here for. But at the same time, one thing we can all relate on is just the world has just been crazy, right? The last couple of years, there's so much going on. And I think we all have dealt with inflation. We all have dealt with things just getting more and more expensive. It is a weird time. It's kind of freaky, right?
All right, so I am finally back from Sainsbury's with a meal deal in hand, using, of course, a reusable bag from Morrison's, because I care about the environment. So today, we're going to be looking at, like I said, the difference in price between the standard groceries you can get in the UK versus the US. Having grown up in the US and spending, to this point, the majority of my life there, I'm pretty well aware of what prices things normally are. And from my experience, I always felt like it was always more expensive to just buy groceries than it was to get a takeaway or a delivery or something like that.
That definitely depends. I think some people do live like that. We tend to buy groceries quite frequently, a little more than I'd like actually, but we buy them often and try not to spend too much per trip. But, we cook at home a lot and, snack at home or whatever. But I can see what he's saying. It depends. If you're smart, you can actually eat out, what I would call it, or get takeaway or takeout, pretty reasonably priced, or maybe even cheaper if you did it, relatively smartly with some research. You might be able to do it cheaper than buying a boatload of groceries all the time. Interesting point.
But hey, depends on what you're getting, and I think the data will speak for itself pretty much. And if you are new here, hi, my name is Evan Edinger, an American-born British YouTuber who likes making videos on interesting things. Also, he has a master's degree in actuarial science. I'm saying this because it explains my love for mathematics. Today's video is quite mathy. Groceries. In order to make this as fair as possible, I looked at 2 different stores in the US and 2 different shops in the UK, trying to make it as uniform as possible. I also made sure that certain items were judged by the price per kilogram as opposed to just the price. So that way, of course, if something was 550 grams and something was 300 grams, we can actually see the overall cost per kilogram and see which one was more expensive. Using Google Spreadsheets' automatic conversion algorithms, I was able to make an entire column just for Americans to understand everything in the dollar value and also everything in pounds for Brits. Now in the UK corner, we're looking at a Sainsbury's/Tesco, because I believe these are pretty middle of the line shops. And also they're all over the entirety of the UK.
So that's cool. Never heard of those. I mean, obviously. Do you shop at those? Are those decent stores?
In the US, we're looking at an Acme/ShopRite.
Acme and ShopRite. Wow. I don't recognize those at all. Is that weird that I'm totally an American and I don't recognize those? We do have, the U.S. is very big though, right? And we're dealing with a lot of states, 50 states. So there is a lot of regional places. Obviously, I'm in Chicago. I'm in the Midwest. We don't have neither of those near me. So that's weird. And I just lived for almost a year, just got back from New Mexico, Las Cruces, And they didn't have any of those, even though all their stores were totally different because that's more West Coast style. And, now I'm in the Midwest again. This is news
American
to me.
Going, I've never heard of those. I'm fairly certain there aren't any fully national grocery food chains in the States. There might have some that are like taking up a huge majority of the West Coast or East Coast, like Safeway or Trader Joe's and whatnot. But I'm using my Jersey heritage. So we're going with ShopRite and Acme. All right.
So that's Northeast, and that's like the one section of the country I've just not been in at all, even on road trips, vacation, whatever.
I split this up into a couple different sections with the standard groceries. We got fruit and veg, and then we got some meats and other things like that. In the UK, you can expect to spend about £1.20 for your standard loaf, no fancy, no seeds of bread. In the US, the equivalent cost in dollars is $3.84, or in pounds, that's £3.32, a 2.7 times increase over the.
Not starting out good for the US. Wow. What can I say? That's bad.
Cost of a single loaf of bread for the same equivalent grammage in the UK. Grammage. My grandma bought this loaf of bread and it was 2.7 times more expensive back in her day. Porridge Oats, or oatmeal, standard kilogram box of porridge oats is going to cost you about £1.95 in the UK. Get you a nice amount of porridge. In the US, that's £4.71, the equivalent of $5.45 for a kilogram of oatmeal. Yet again, we're over 2 times more expensive for this standard grocery.
You know what? Wow. So yeah, £4.71 US, £1.95. Or in US dollars, like I would use, $5.45 or $2.26 in the UK. Jesus, that's crazy. Now, in some other videos I've done comparing cost of living, for example, compared to like Canada and Australia, the US is usually pretty cheap compared to those in a lot of categories. But groceries is not doing well right now, at least compared to the UK. Like I said, I want to see your comments on these.
Next up, we've got cornflakes.
That's embarrassing.
These exist in both countries. No crazy cereals. No, we're not talking about any like Jolly Rancher or Sour Patch Kids cereal in the US.
Yuck.
Standard cornflakes. In the UK, of course, if you want a big box of this terrible anti-masturbatory cereal, it's going to cost you £2. It's pretty standard. It's cornflakes. You're not paying much for cornflakes. In the US, it is £5.59. $6.46 for a box of cornflakes. Cornflakes. This is
I feel like that sounds expensive, but I don't want to like quote that or blatantly say it's wrong just because, to be honest, we don't buy cereal. Seems pricey, right? May I just say I without saying his numbers are wrong, because I'm not saying that at all. I don't know off the top of my head, but I want to point out that I feel like the Northeast, like New Jersey, New York area that he's talking about, those stores, I feel like that area is a little pricey compared to some other areas of the U.S. So I don't know how much that factors into this as well. Either way, I think regardless, the U.S. prices are so far basically double the UK version.
One of those that I was like, is it really that expensive? And then I remembered, yes, I loved cereal growing up in the States, and I always expected to pay about $4.50 for a small box, or for the cornflakes, something like that size, about $6. So
I guess that sounds right. I just
didn't
can't
realize
fathom
how
that.
much I was really saving on groceries living in the UK. On basic things. Moving on, we got 500 grams of rice. This one was actually quite close. Only 10%
rice is cheap here.
more expensive in the US. Still more expensive, but
still more.
Not as bad. 1.26 times more expensive in the States for the equivalent amount of butter. Moving on to 4 pints of whole milk. And if you're wondering why I'm measuring 4 pints of whole milk. The UK is an absolutely batshit measuring thing in which they go somewhat metric and then they go back to imperial, but in a weird way, where instead of just saying a gallon or quarts or something like that, they just go with 4 pints. Might as well just say 8 cups. I don't know, half gallon.
Yeah, how much you want to dissect it down? Yeah, obviously here it's a gallon of milk, right?
Ring a bell, anyone? That's funny. 2 quarts? I don't know. Either way, so the equivalent amount of milk, a standard thing that most people pick up during their grocery shop, we're looking at £3.10 in the US. Yet again, more than double the UK amount of £1.45.
My God.
Switching over to dollars, that's the equivalent of paying $1.68 for a half gallon of milk. So far, we've not really seen any big W's coming out the US.
No.
But that's about to change with cheddar cheese.
Okay, finally. I was going to say, are any of these going to be better in the U.S.? Because so far we're getting destroyed.
550 grams? No. Actually, very close though. Only 16% more expensive in the States. So you could write that off as a little bit of variance. That's fine.
Okay.
A dozen medium eggs, £2.30
same.
for a standard dozen versus £3.02 in the States. So for my standard dry good groceries, it looks like the UK is a resounding win with a significant decrease in the price of groceries. Now moving on to fresh fruit and veg. First up is an onion, or rather onions per kilogram.
The produce looking?
Per kilogram, you're looking at 85 pence for a kilogram of onions. Of course, they're cheap onions. Except in the States, you're looking at an equivalent of £3.79. We're looking at 4.46 times the price. Nearly 4.5 times more money for a bag of onions. And it gets worse if you only want to buy a couple onions. I knew this because when I visited the States in February, I wanted to buy one onion for a dish and it cost $1. For one onion. In the UK, that's the equivalent of buying a whole kilogram of them. It's crazy. And then finally, we get
this is pretty eye-opening. Wow.
Get our first W, USA. We win on the tomatoes, okay? We got some vine fresh tomatoes. US pays 17% less. Hell yes.
Okay, there we go.
Now, to be fair, this is a bit of an outlier because this is coming from a New Jersey location. And New Jersey is known for our Jersey fresh tomatoes. The best tomatoes you can get anywhere in the world. So you'd think because they're so incredibly good and delicious in the Garden State, they'd be more expensive, but no, everyone's growing them. We got them all over the place. So congrats, we got cheaper tomatoes. Next up, Pink Lady apples.
First W
the creme
for
de la
the
crêpe.
US.
Yes, another win for the US.
Good.
2% cheaper, but we will take our W's. Now, bananas per kilogram.
I mean, produce, I mean, that's good to hear that at least we win on something. And of course, hopefully you would have a decent amount of produce in your grocery list as, it's healthy. And of course, it's more versatile and for recipes and stuff. So that's good to hear because it was getting a little crazy, right? It was getting a little bit like, oh my God, what are we doing with the groceries here?
Are 78 pence in the UK. You can buy them for, this point, freaking 30 pence per. But I digress. For the US, it's not that bad. At £1.12 is the equivalent amount, so only 1.5 times more expensive. I'm saying only, but at this point, these are all starting to add up. And this one blew me away the most. A kilogram of carrots will set you back 45 pence, nearly 50 cents. However, in the US, for that equivalent, you're paying £1.88. Yet again, over 4 times the cost for carrots. And at this point, it's starting to get really freaky because the US, especially like California, has so many farms, huge swathes of land. We have so much more land. You could argue we have more people, and so therefore we have more demand. But for some reason, I feel like something else is afoot here as well. Like, it just seems wild that all of this is more expensive. Yeah. Except, of course, the Jersey Fresh and the apple.
Yeah, I really thought we would dominate the produce section when he started this because, like he said, the U.S. is very big. We have tons of, tons more variation in climate and, lots of, beautiful fertile land here. We can grow so many different things depending on the state and region. Wow, like I feel like our produce should be way more efficient. Granted, we have a humongous population, I realize that, but it's just, man, I thought we would dominate the at least the produce one, right? That's what I thought. And I feel like on paper we should, but I guess not.
Next up, standard raisins.
So
standard
weird.
Bag of raisins are 2 times more expensive in the US. A cucumber, 1.5 times more expensive. Same thing for a can of chopped tomatoes, 1.5 times more expensive.
Wow.
A kilogram of potatoes are so cheap.
Yeah.
A kilogram bag is 83 pence in the UK. The US is 3.5 times more expensive. We're looking at over $3 for a kilogram
potatoes
of
aren't
potatoes.
that cheap
Lord
here.
have mercy. We did have 2 wins for this section of fresh fruit and veg, but now I think there might be a bit more perspective here on why there's so much processed foods in the US, because if you can believe it, a lot of those are a lot cheaper than buying all of these fresh vegetables. Just buy a box, add a couple things to it, bon appetit. You save a bit of money, not as good for you. And finally, our last section here is going to be the meat of the video. The meats. Going into this, I really expected the UK's to be more expensive for meats.
No,
because
I don't think so.
Expensive to buy standard mincemeat and chicken and such at the local stores, but mincemeat, holy crap.
I mean, going with the theme, I think the US is going to lose this too.
£1.69 for the UK equivalent weight. £5.99.
Holy
crap. 3.5 times for meat. Wow. I don't know how much I'd eat meat.
$6.93 US dollars or $1.95 in the UK. I can't wrap my head around that. That is insane. I mean, like I've been saying, more expensive here, but like way more expensive. It's not $6.93 and it's, $5.95 in the UK. No, like $6.93 versus $1.95. That's just kind of it's kind of ridiculous, right? This is fun. This is fun to watch, but I gotta admit, it's a little little depressing too. Just from my wallet. My wallet's a little depressed out there. I'm scared to go to the store now.
If it was that expensive, to be honest with you. Chicken breast, 650 grams, 1.3 times more expensive in the US. Okay, that's not so bad.
Terrible,
Mincemeat
but it
was
adds
that
up.
big. Smoked bacon, very close, nearly 1-to-1, 250 versus 256.
Okay.
That can change depending on how far the pound has been dropping.
We'll call
recently.
that a draw.
So if we were to add all these up, the cost of your total grocery shop in the UK would be £48.88, whereas the US equivalent is £88.69. Over $100 for a standard grocery shop.
Which sounds about right. I mean, groceries are just very expensive. Like I said at the beginning, we go often, unfortunately, and we tend to do slightly smaller trips. I wouldn't call it like a big weekly trip or something. We do kind of more micro trips. But even some micro trips where I feel like we barely put anything in the cart, it's like, boom, $70 right there. Boom, $81. It's like, what is going on? It's so expensive lately at the stores here in the U.S. And dang, at least the UK, can we get a round of applause? Those seem like very reasonable prices. I would love to hear what you guys have to say if you agree with this. I'll have to pay attention at our next shopping trip just to see if ours seems like affordable or cheaper than those kind of Jersey area prices, because I feel like those might be a little high. This is wild, man. This is wild.
Which
for sure.
blows me away. Back when I used to shop at Lidl all the time, I would marvel at how many things I'd shove in my cart and it would still come out to just about 20 quid. And I was like, hell yes. But Jesus, I just can't imagine a standard grocery shop being $100. Of course, this is just a couple samples taken. It's not like a sample across all of the US and all of the UK. And sure, if you're always used to paying 1.8 times what the UK is, you're not necessarily going to notice as big a difference. You don't have anything to compare it to necessarily while you've always been in the US. But
yeah, I didn't realize, like he's saying, I didn't realize it was that much more expensive than where it could be somewhere else, right? So that is a little bit alarming. But I do think, just to point out, I guess, to help cope with that, I know certain things in cost of living in the U.S. are decent, favorable compared to other places. It just depends, right? Everything kind of depends and goes up and down. But it is not a cheap time right now. It is a very expensive time in our life, right? In all of our
sales
lives.
tax is also a thing in quite a few states. 13 states actually charge their citizens tax on basic groceries. Tennessee charges 4%.
Wait, let me see here. Yeah, so see, we miss New Mexico. Very tax-friendly state, very cheap cost of living, absolutely beautiful. And I miss it seeing this because here's Illinois. We're on every worst list. We're a very expensive state here in Illinois. And as you can see, grocery rate additional 1%, of course, with on top of the 6.25% tax rate. Illinois is one of the worst, top 5, maybe even top 3 worst tax states. It's very expensive here. And oh my God, who is the most expensive on here? It looks like a tie between Tennessee and Mississippi, which is that's a little shocking.
Citizens
At least
tax
Tennessee has no
on
income
basic
tax.
groceries. Tennessee charges 4%. So that $100 shop has an extra $4 tacked on top that you aren't really probably budgeting for. And then that adds up every single shop.
That was really interesting. Really well done, by the way. Another round of applause. That was awesome. Make sure to check out his channel and this whole original video with the description. Okay, the link is down there. I can't wait to see your comments on this one. I would love to even do additional videos similar to this and maybe highlight what the pricing situation is around me and compare it. I think that'd be pretty fun. But either way, please throw a thumbs up, a like on this video if you enjoyed it. It will help it out. I do appreciate that. Of course, subscribe to join this amazing community we have. Cannot wait to see you down in the comments. Throw some prices down there in relation to these. Let's see what you got. And with that being said, y'all, my name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. And until next time, I'll catch you later.